Welcome back to the Ultimate Homeschool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Hernandez. Today we have a very special guest with us, and Meagan is joining us to share about what she does. And we're super excited about this because we're both very enthralled with all things nature school. So, welcome, Meagan. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you do, because obviously we don't do the same exact thing within nature
Mhm.
schools, but you actually support nature schools. So can you share a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So, yes, hello everyone. I'm Meagan Duncan. I am the founder and CEO of Connected Kids Thrive Positive Behavior Guide for nature-based schools and programs and parents. Um, I launched into this journey. I used to have my own little nature-based school, and it was amazing. And then I became a foster mom, and I dove deep into behavior and the behavior of adults and how that impacts the behavior of children. And so we're still trying to adopt our little guy that we have been trying to for many, many years. And it has just led to this evolution of learning about, yeah, our impact on behavior and how adults need to elevate their behavior so they can help kiddos better.
Right. And so a little bit of your story too, because you've gone through all of this and you had your own program, when you went into learning more about behavior, I know you've gone through some classes to do that. And this is why, you're able to help at such a deeper level is because of what you've been through. Can you share maybe a little bit more detail about, your school and then how you got started with that, how you transitioned over, and then we'll ask some more. I got so many questions I need to ask.
Yeah, I think my journey, I came from a very traumatic religious cult, which
Mm,
is, we can think about behavior in that realm. And then um, I went to school to become a speech therapist, and I got pregnant in college. My husband and I, we went together, and then I needed to become a stay-at-home mom. And which, of course, that I didn't get to go to grad school, right? Because now I'm a stay-at-home mom. And there's all the feelings wrapped up with that. And
mm,
it was such a blessing, and it is such a blessing that I got to do that. Um, my husband got laid off, so I needed to put my daughter in childcare. Looking around my community at the time, I was like, no way, I can do better. So I designed my own little school. And when we don't understand behavior, what I saw happening was I was kind of creating the same system that I so desperately wanted to keep us out of. And
mm.
so we went more nature based. I learned a little bit more about behavior. We embraced the emergent curriculum. And a couple moves later, I did early childhood intervention and then became a foster mom. And I also got certified because I've always wanted to do something with nature schools because nature just is the perfect elixir to calm children and stimulate them all in the right doses. It's something that's desperately missing from a lot of kiddos.
Yeah.
That's why I love working with nature schools and families when they embrace and prioritize the nature component because
Hmm.
it's a requirement for positive behavior. We have to have that sense of grounding within us and for our kiddos. And so yeah, I was doing a lot of parent coaching in the homeschool that my kiddo was in also. And then a woman reached out to me that I got certified with in for nature schools. And she said, I see what you're doing with parents and how you're helping them approach their kiddos better. Can you help me and my team approach kiddos better? And I'm like, heck yes. So I developed a program for nature schools, and now I coach mostly nature-based schools in really understanding behavior so they can approach it better.
Yes. I had seen a post somewhere that says it's amazing how the nature wild calms the child. And it's so true
Mhm.
because even though they're out and they have all this open space, being grounded, being out with the trees, like all of those things are helping to calm our nervous system. And it does so much more for us than, the four walls of the building with high stimulation LED lights and all the EMFs and all the things. Can you share a little bit about the program that you created and how it's been helping these leaders? Because I think a lot of times it's like, oh, well, I mean, if it's like gentle parenting or if it's like, ABA or like, like I can go and find things on these topics and it's like, no, it's so much more than that. So can you share a little deep dive about what that truly is?
Yeah, so um, I'm certified in positive discipline, and I've actually taken a lot of ABA training too, because I wanted both sides of that behavior spectrum to understand it better.
Right.
So in my program and when I serve educators, I really look at connection, communication, cooperation, and
Okay.
everything falls into that. And I'm always helping them look for opportunities to increase that sense of belonging and significance for kiddos and for themselves.
Hmm.
And a metaphor that I lean into every time I get on a call with a school or a parent is we want to think about behavior as a river. And I like to think about the child as actually the water, the curious waters, always testing, always flowing. And then the guides are the guiding banks. They're the bedrock, they're the foundation. And we sometimes we think that behavior happens in isolation, and it doesn't. There's always a spark or an impact that inspires that behavior, positive or negative. And so when I'm working with schools, we focus most of our energy, or families, when I'm working with families too, upriver. We're thinking about how we can keep the banks, those guiding banks, fortified and buffered and equipped so that the water flows smoothly. Because when we don't do that, we're spending a lot of time in overcorrection, in that turbulence, that churning water, downriver, and in that chaos. And what I have found when we really spend most of the time upriver focusing on making sure things are, connected, really, that it always goes back to connection. We spend less time downriver. Of course, there'll be mistakes made once in a while, but we can approach it from a needs-based perspective because we understand behavior better. And kids just come, and parents and guides. I call educators and parents guides. We can, you know, when we're downriver, we can see the need of that behavior ourselves and the child, and we can come out of it much more quickly. We can go back upstream and really just stay in connection. And it's so beautiful when we can set up the environment to bring out more opportunities of belonging and significance.
Okay, yes. I love having like three pillars as well, especially, even within nature school. So you can really connect that to how we're teaching, how we're educating, how we're guiding. And I love that you call them guides because that's such a Montessori principle. And I love that. We're there to facilitate, we're there to help. We're not there to like do everything for them. And okay, this is next and this is next, right? It's like, okay, well, what do you think you should do next? So and that also applies to behavior. I did want to ask a question because we have so much prevalence of ADHD and ADD and autism spectrum and all these kids with all these behavioral problems, which obviously is not just a cognitive issue. We know there's so many outside influences that do inhibit or create some more issues for the child. But with parents that are like, I am so drained, I don't see, or maybe even the guides, the educators that are like, I don't even want to, accept these students because I don't have the capacity or the ability to help them and still teach my class. Like, how do we manage this? Because these children, might have a little bit more need than others.
So, are you're just asking how do guides support those kiddos as well as a class or other children?
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, time after time after time, when we can create opportunities for belonging and significance, for connection, all children benefit, and we see a massively reduced need for that overcorrection at downriver. It really impacts everyone. I've got several resources um, that I can share. And when I talk with families or nature schools, they share their routines with me and we look at every turn in a routine. Okay, right there, belonging and significance. How can we increase that? Because when kiddos feel good, they do good. They have more capacity to take correction. They have more capacity to acknowledge when they've made a mistake. Um, and there's just such a reduced amount of correction and those power struggles because kids are getting they're empowered
What
and their
they
needs are
need.
met at the front.
Right, right.
Something that I have really dove into with a lot of schools that I'm working with is how to empower families to use some of these same tools.
Mm,
And when I had my nature-based school, something that we did was we cooked our lunches together every day, organic. And my little 3 and 4 year olds, we could have it was an hour of just connection time. They were cooking with me. We were mixing our tortilla. I mean, we did everything in the kitchen. And yeah, I had a board with some letters and we talked about those too, but that was like sprinkled on top. It was really these deep moments of connection. A really fun resource that I have created recently is Bridging the Gap. So pulling um, connecting families and schools. And it really is through cooking. And I think a lot of parents have a misconception about what cooking in the kitchen needs to look like. We keep connection at the forefront and just I encourage families to start where they can be successful. So that could be one tiny task for 1 minute, one at a time, you know. And so we often think that if I invite my kiddo to come help me cook, they need to help me clean up the mess. They need to stay there for the duration and help me clean up the mess. And we don't want to start there. Yes, that's our goal. We will get there. But when a kiddo helps sprinkle cheese on a taco or helps cut cookies, and then they're able to be with their guide in serving others, serving that meal, giving those cookies, that sense of pride, and that's the piece that's missing in so many kids
right.
these days is that sense of contribution to others is so powerful in us seeing our own goodness and we have a reduced need to engage
Gosh.
in less desirable ways of seeking connection.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because they want our connection regardless. They want some
Mhm.
kind of connection. They don't care how they get it. Their nervous system just knows I need connection. I'll get it whether I'm being good or bad. And clearly, since I'm getting it more when I'm being bad, then that's what I'm going to keep doing because at least I'm getting connection. I love what you're saying about not having to do the whole task in the kitchen because I know,
Mhm.
like you said, for a lot of parents, it's like, okay, well, if they're gonna come cook, like they're gonna come do it with me. And it's like, no, what little piece can they do right now? Maybe they're 2 or 3 and they can only sprinkle the cheese on, or maybe they can only put the sprinkles or the chocolate chips into the batter and then you're mixing it. Like that is involved. And maybe they go run away and they come back, and they want
Mhm.
to do something else, and then they
Yes.
want to do more.
Yes. And that can be for any age. When a parent tells me, "Oh, my kid hates being in the kitchen," I'm like, "Oh, why? Why? Let's get to the we can invite our 12-year-old, our teenager, "Hey, will you come sprinkle the cheese on these tacos?" And then let them go. Let them start to if that's where they are, if that's where their joy is in connecting with you in the kitchen, let it be there and then let them go. They will start to develop that resiliency and that it feels good to be with their person in the kitchen and it will snowball up from there. Um, Something you said a second ago that I'd love to go back to really quickly is whenever we don't understand the function of the behavior, how we react actually reinforces that behavior that the child that attention seeking or connection seeking behavior. Yeah, they're going to get it one way or the other. That's their biological need. They must do this. And so, but when we don't understand if they're doing it in a mistaken way, if we react, we reinforce it for them and we reinforce it for us if we acted in our own mistaken way from our own mistaken belief of how they're acting. So then it's this negative snowball effect. And then we're just in this power struggle, all this I call it fishing behavior. It's needless behavior that is getting that adult's attention it's totally missing what that child needed way to begin with. But it's helping adults understand is the need under the behavior so they can respond in the right way and help that child develop those missing skills.
Right. So let's say, like, for instance, we run our nature program outside. We have parents come and help with their kiddos. But we have a few that are in particular very much high on the autism spectrum, or they just their parents want to come because they know it's good for them to be around others and be in that environment, but they really don't want to participate. And so it kind of builds that wedge of like, they're wanting them to come.
Mhm.
I don't force students to do work that they don't want to do. I will ask them to come and invite them to join me in the activities that we're doing. But we don't really want to force them because that who wants to be
Mhm.
forced to do things? What are some ways that you've noticed or that you've shared how to combat things like that? Because I know there are other schools that this is probably a pretty prevalent issue, especially because there's so much overstimulation, in the world that we have now. And some of these children are like, that's boring, or I don't want to do that, or they don't see the benefit of it. They don't get excited about it, even though it's like, yes, this is an exciting thing to do, or we're all doing it together.
Mhm.
Even just being a part of a group that can some be challenging. So what are some ways that you've seen are helpful, especially to, keep children engaged in what activities are happening, or even just to encourage them to join in to help?
Okay, so yes, this is a very common question, and talking with so many schools, we can provide amazing environments. And you hit something beautiful where you don't force, right? So kids have a lot of freedom. They can kind of choose what they want to do.
Yes.
Here's the dark reality, and something that we all need to come to terms with. Parents have to step up because um, why would a child want to go to a nature school if they've got tablets at home that can keep them occupied all day? And so with my training, when I train nature school, when a nature school hires me, I also offer parent training too, so that parents are understanding these tools, they're understanding behavior, they know how to not reinforce challenging behaviors for themselves and for their kiddos, and they know how to empower the kiddo in the right way. When schools that I work with, they are doing everything upriver. They're becoming buffered and equipped, and they're doing all these things. Schools do not need to stand, educators do not need to stand on their heads begging children to cooperate. If the child doesn't want to be there, they should not be there. And that's kind of the stark reality that's coming to light. If if they don't have, if they've got, and I have to say, it's too much screen time at home. Um, that is really, it's sparking a lot of issues, and I see it even with my little guy. When he has too much screen time in his other environment, he doesn't want to ride his motorcycle. He doesn't want to do all these amazing things that we provide him here. Um,
Right. Right. And
so
so I'm really glad that you're bringing that up. Like the home environment does affect the yeah, I don't want to call it a school environment, but the learning environment, because we're not like trying to create a school here, but we do
yeah,
have activities that should be enjoyable for kids. And it's like,
yep,
why are they not wanting to
yep,
participate? And I'm sure parents are seeing it too when they are having things for them at home. Yes, tablets and screen time do take away the curiosity. It dulls the mind of like, oh, well, I'm getting all this overstimulation. So that to me, that slowed down thing, that like tinkering thing isn't as enjoyable for the child as this high functioning, super overstimulating tablet.
yep, immediate gratification all over and over and over and over. Why would they even want to go? I was invited to participate in this amazing opportunity of helping kids learn about medicinal plants and all of this. And I'm like, yes and no, I will not participate. And I will participate when it's empowering for the kids and the kids want to be there. Because I'm not interested in being in an environment where kids are forced to be somewhere when they'd rather be home on a tablet. That's undoing the goal that we're going for, helping them find the beauty in these medicinal plants. So, and I think as parents, we take it we think we should have all the answers, right? We brought this child into the world and we should have all the answers. And I think when parents can release maybe that they don't know everything, or that they can, not that they think they know everything, but just open themselves to getting more tools so that, um, and reducing screen time at home. Those two things will change the lives of educators in their setting and the home life. Those two things.
So,
Letting kiddos
what,
be bored.
right. Yes. Okay. So, that is something that comes up a lot, especially in our group is like, okay, well, I've got to occupy them because I have to work from home or I have to get tasks done or I have to do this or that. And it's like they can't always help doing those tasks. So that's when the tablets come out. That's when the screens come out. I myself, I'm guilty
Uh-huh.
of doing too much TV time or too much, exciting
Mhm.
things on tablets or whatever. We don't really do tablets, but we do have other things. It's like, so how do you give them something that they want to do?
Um, so positive behavior tip, I give lots of those. I wish we could go back to getting smaller houses and bigger yards so that we could say to kids, you can play in your room or you can go outside. But as houses have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, yards have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and there just is a lot less fun outside time available for those. Um, but we don't have to be the broccoli is good for them. It's not helpful. They're just going to find resistance in that and meet you toe to toe. Um, so do you have a decent outside yard, or you're a mama? That's first and foremost. Um, um, so we want to, if we do screen times, it's not all bad. We can definitely we can have those as part of our routines. I would just encourage people to set it up as a logical motivator or a logical consequence. So, actually, be an illogical consequence because it isn't related, but we could say something like, yeah, when this and this and this is done, then you can have screen time. Or, I encourage, especially that's what I love about homeschooling, bring out the kiddos with their planners. Always. Even my 3-year-old, we can do planners with 3-year-old. Okay, what are you going to do before screen time? Empower them and work it together. And they are so much more willing to participate in this cooperation when they're empowered, for it to be their voice too.
Right. So I love the idea of planners. We do that for our homeschool as well. A lot of it is, I think a lot of it too is that parents are so overtired. Um, And that is because they're also overstimulated. They're also dealing with too much. And so then you've got the clash of everybody is dysregulated. And then what do? You pull those screen
Yep.
times out like right away because, okay, mommy can't deal with that because
Mhm.
I'm so overwhelmed and I have all these other tasks to do. Because we just have too much to do in this day and age. And I'm not saying anything bad about screen time
Mhm.
being it's like it's not that evil, but it is in terms of how it gets used. And I love
Mhm.
the idea of having the planner coming out. We have a calendar on our fridge that we put all the things that we're doing, and we have to-do lists and tasks and charts and everything to help keep them visual, remember,
Mhm.
to remind what they're doing. And I think that's definitely a helper, but I didn't even think about using a calendar with or a planner with a 3-year-old. It's so
Oh
young.
yeah. They love it. They can scribble their little contribution in there, and as a working mom too, we'll have to, I mean, open door policy, or when this door is closed, maybe that's the time, the screens come out, because there is that can be okay when it's planned and not a basically a reward for terrible behavior. Like, I
Yeah.
can't deal with this anymore. Here's your screen, because they learn that really quick.
Oh yeah.
Um, and with that, I love to empower. Sibling rivalry can be really challenging, and that's often a spark for the fighting, right? When
Oh,
kids
the
are like
fighting.
screaming at each other.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that when I work with families, I'm like, how do we help the children become a team so that that's one thing? They're still gonna, have some things here and there, but when we, again, upriver, when we help them develop the skills and tools to become a
Yes.
team, there's so much less stuff churning at the bottom that we have to
Right.
deal with.
Right.
Um, so yeah, the family planning, the planner time is so, so powerful. Something else that I recommend is yeah, you said visual schedule, but I actually like a picture where I take pictures of the children doing their
Hmm.
tasks and funny faces. They love it. I have my
Oh, that's a great
foster
idea.
kiddo, his picture task list. It's on two. I just stapled each picture to a ribbon so that I could rip it off and move things around. So he's got his morning task list and his afternoon task list. And my daughter has her morning task list and her afternoon task list. And when they're kind of in this place of either agitating each other or like, can I have, I'm like, what's next on your task list? That's all I have to do. They're like, oh yeah. And they go to their task list and solve their own problem.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I love doing, empowering adults to empower kiddos and get us out of naggy mode or bossy pants mode or reminding mode, because that is so disempowering for kids. And that actually depletes those positive um, connections that we give them when we tell them what to do over and over and over. In fact, that brings me, children are told what to do 500 to 1,000 times a day.
Yeah. It's so annoying. Like, I don't
Mhm.
want to keep having to tell you what to do. Just, you should know what to do. Like, this isn't
And
changed.
so when we learn the skills, all positive behavior starts with us first. When we learn
Hmm.
the skills to empower ourselves, to empower them, then we can stop depleting them of dignity so that they don't have to fight for it.
So, if you have kiddos where you've done visual charts, where you've done like the routines, and they continue to not want to comply, or they continue,
Yeah.
like I have two olders and we've done this for quite a long time. Well, what do I
Mhm.
need to do? This, and this. Like, I don't care what order you get them done in, they just need to get done before we can get out the door. Um, and yet we still have the issues of, well, they just want to sit and procrastinate, or they just want to sit and do nothing, or run away and do the opposite. It makes it very challenging for those students, especially when they've had all of the tools and continue to not want to do it. And I know there's other parents that have dealt with that too, because I
Mhm.
sound like a broken record. We go through the same tasks every day. These are the things that we have to get done in the morning. It hasn't changed in 12 years that I've been telling you about it. So
Uh-huh.
So especially for the older ones, we're like, okay, well, I'm past the visual card, or I'm past the whatever, you know, uh, even name tags. Um, what would you say in that instance? Obviously, this is like not in every person scenario, but I know there are several that are struggling with these same things. It's like, okay, to get to the car, we need to do these three things. How do you then get them, or have them want to get those done for themselves?
So, a small tweak in your communication, okay? And I do this every day, and sometimes I catch myself doing it, is you shared, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. We don't want to do that. We want to say, what's your schedule for today? Tell me what you're going to do today. So that they're telling us, oh, I need to do this, and this. And then, if they say, I need to do, and is your kiddo 12? Or how old's your
Yes.
kiddo? Yeah,
Yes,
mine
we have.
too. Um, and we can reduce our communication and our expectations to where they can be successful, but we want it back to not telling them what to do. I really try and tell my kids what to do 30 times a day only. Like, that's my goal, is 30 times. And so I have to, like, okay, if that's my goal, then I have to set them up to tell themselves what to do, where they're telling me what to do. And then I can help them be successful with that. So, you know, tell me your five. I would honestly, my daughter loves her visual schedule. She's 12, so she's not beyond that. And it gets me out of naggy mode. out of, I should say, reminding mode. That's kinder.
Yeah, but
It gets
it's
me out of
totally
reminding.
Maggie mode.
Oh, and they hate it.
Well,
But
they
then
do,
they
and I
fish
do
for it.
too. Right.
Then they fish for it because it's control for them. When we get in this flustered state of reminding, it's control for them, which
Hmm.
is reinforcing that behavior for them and the reminding behavior for us. So
Right.
when we can just take a breath and be like, okay, what's your plan for the day? Um, oh, what you've got your three step, like how does your homeschool run? Couple subjects in the morning and then lunch and then in the afternoon, or are they done in the afternoon?
Yeah, we go and do homeschool in a group. So we actually do it in the afternoon, but that's why we have several tasks we need to get done in the morning. And then we go to
Okay.
the afternoon and they do their 2, 3 hours and then we come back home, which is pretty typical for I've seen a lot, we do their morning chores, we do all the home things, we do a slow wake up so that way, nobody's rushing out the door. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely I'm glad to hear that, your 12-year-old still likes the visual cards. And maybe it needs to be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you make your own cards and how you want to show them on your task
Exactly.
list, and then they go and do it them. I'm all about
Yeah.
empowering the student or the child to go and do
Yeah.
it themselves. That's such a Montessori thing. And that's really been my premise. My kids were both in Montessori and they loved being in that classroom because they were so empowered. They could go and choose their work that they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And it's like, yes, that's great, but not always can we do it when we want to do it. Sometimes we need to do it right now. And there's a time
Yeah.
constraint. And I feel like that's been the hardest thing that I've seen and that I've heard from parents is like when I need them to move and do these specific tasks and they're not wanting to do it and there's all this pushback, how do we then remediate that so that it's a win-win and we still get out the door on time to a
Yeah.
doctor's appointment or to whatever we need to get to?
So again, upriver stuff, right? I would invite all of us to look at our morning routines. And I love that you have a slow wake up. And then as you're looking at your routine, where can you embed belonging and significance, connection at the get-go? So um when my kiddos, so on weekdays, so my kiddos do public school for now. We're going to be homeschooling again soon. We've done homeschooling, loved it. We're going to be doing it again soon. But for now, we're back in a Waldorf school, or at least my daughter is. But anyways, it's all empowering. So they have a choice. They can either wake up by an alarm or I can wake them up, and they choose me. So I go in, I make it to where they can hear my alarm, right? So it starts activating their system. I go in with my lavender or my peppermint spray in the morning. Actually, it's still lavender because, and I give them a little tiny hand massage. I ask them what if they dreamt anything. We have a 5-minute little morning ritual. And then with each one, I wake up when my foster son stays over, I wake him up second so my daughter can get up first. But I go in there, I get in her bed with her, give her a hand massage, ask her if she had any dreams. And then I say, all right, are you ready to be a rabbit or a ninja? And she gives a choice. And we have this agreement. If they get up right away, I actually make their bed for them in the morning. And that's their first task list being checked off. So they are already in a positive trajectory for their task
They're already
list.
winning, right? That's
And
awesome.
I'm serving them. I
Okay.
want to learn. I never ever do for children what they can do for themselves
Yes,
unless it's
agreed.
purposeful serving and modeling,
Mm,
unless it's connection based. It's a purposeful connection I'm wanting to make with them.
I love
That's why
that.
I think breakfast and I'm verbalizing. That's why I never do laundry in a vacuum. I'm always, oh, you're doing your math. Do you mind if I go in your room and take care of your laundry? Like I'm always like looking for opportunities where they can see my goodness. I'm highlighting my goodness. And also I'm highlighting their goodness and I'm looking for opportunities to serve them. And they make each other's beds sometimes. Like on the weekends, I don't make their bed because they have their own slot. They sleep in and whatnot. But I've just noticed a big increase when I serve them purposefully with modeling and verbalizing, they serve each other. And then I can say, I love how you guys love each other. I love how you're supporting each other. And they're such a solid team. Do they have their issues? Once a week, maybe one time. Like we've reduced because we spent so much time upriver embedding all these things. There's such little work to do. in correction and downriver stuff.
I love
So I
that.
would invite everyone to look at your morning routine and make sure you're getting adequate doses of belonging and significance right at the get-go.
That's a great point. I really appreciate you coming on, Meagan. This has been such a pleasure, even with the kids screaming in the background because we know we're
It's
moms, we're
okay.
busy, and
Yep.
it happens. But where can people find you if they want to connect with you online? And we'll make sure to put it in the show notes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, just go to my Facebook group. If you're an educator, you can go to my positive behavior guides for nature schools. I give lots of tips in there, and you can book a call with me, and we can look at your routines directly, and I can help you identify all those nuances. So we can really focus upriver so there's less downriver stuff. And then if you're a parent, you can DM me, find me on Facebook at Connected Kids Thrive Community. DM me if you want to call. I can help you look at your routines and where are those nuances where we can embed more belonging and significance. And also we can solve problems too, for sure. There's issues. We can definitely look at skills there, but when we focus upstream, we really don't, we have so much reduced issues downstream.
Awesome. This has been such a pleasure, May. And like I said, you've got it down to a science. We will have to have you come on again and
Mhm.
share some more. But it has been really such a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing and coming on, and happy homeschooling, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much for joining me on the Ultimate Homeschool Community Podcast. Before you go, though, don't miss out. Check those show notes down below so you can get those exclusive freebies and helpful resources and some practical tips that we've been sharing to support your homeschool journey. If you found value in today's episode, which I'm sure you have, please, please, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, share it with another parent who needs it. The more reviews and comments that we get, the more parents we can reach with the support they need. And so your next step towards confident homeschooling is literally just a click away. Just check below. So just check out those notes, and we'll see you next time.